Hey, it's Ryan from Ryonet, and today in this video we're going to demonstrate the advantages and instructions on how to print with the Matsui water-based metallic binder, which is the only metallic binder on the market available in a water-based form. Matsui's water-based metallic binder is basically like a shimmer for metallic water-based inks. So it's kind of the cross between a metallic ink and a shimmer. You can see a little bit of a flake particle in it, but it gives a very cool metallic look. Now, this is the way it comes out of the container, which is a silver color. We can actually make any color by mixing in the Ryonet CMS pigment to this ink with up to 10% mixing ratio. So we'll show mixing that and then printing with this by mixing in a red to the ink. Like all of our inks, you can download the instructional sheet on how to use the metallic binder simply by going to our mobile version and or our web version of our help desk, searching for the metallic binder, and then downloading the PDF available for download easily from that app. To mix this ink, we're going to put just a little bit of ink into an empty mixing container here. Now these mixing containers are available from our site and very, very handy. Come with a cap. It's the same containers that we use. So that's 22 grams of ink. I'm going to put in approximately 2 grams of the red pigment to create a nice, cool red metallic look. Put in 2 grams of that. That's very thin. So go up to, the reason I'm doing 2 grams is because you're doing 10% roughly. Go up to 24. You don't want to overload the ink with much more than 10 grams. You can go slightly over, but you don't really need to. So then we're going to simply mix this up. And once we are mixed up, we have a very cool red metallic flake ink, which is a water-based. Because this is a water-based ink, we do want to use either a water-resistant emulsion, or in this case, we're using a standard plastisol emulsion with a hardened X hardener, which makes it water-resistant. This is just like using any other water-based ink, so we'll talk about the curing and washing parameters of that as well. So right now, we're actually going to take both these inks and kind of do an on-screen blend to show you printing with both the inks and how they look, so you can see the silver look and the red look into it. So then we'll print it. Gonna back flood. If you're doing this in production, you definitely want to back flood with this ink. You do not want to leave the screen open. This ink, because it's thick and has that metallic flake in it, will dry out a lot faster than, let's say, a runny or a thin water-based ink. So you got to keep the screen flooded and you got to keep printing with it. Then we'll flood the screen back. Here we see it on black without a white underbase. You can also use a water-based white underbase like the super opaque stretch white and or the white 301W, which Ryonet both sells. You can also print this directly on lighter colors as well. So it can go directly on black and or you can use an underbase to make it pop a little bit more. One other cool thing about water-based ink is you can print it on stock, card, or paper. So right here, we're just going to show an example of printing it on stock. Here's an example of it being printed on a lighter garment. This is actually like a canvas bag that we printed it on. As you can see, I think I really like the way the red looks. The silver, it kind of fades out with a lighter background, but using a pigment in this ink works awesome. Now we are printing through a lower mesh because of the metallic flakes. So we're printing through a 110 mesh. You can probably go up to 156 mesh, but we do recommend 110 or 125 to make sure you get enough of that ink through the screen. Water-based ink does cure slightly different than plastisol ink. Now it still needs to cure at 320 degrees, but because it has a water-based carrier in it, that water has to evaporate out of the ink before it will cure. So optimally to cure water-based inks, we're going to be using forced air. Right here we have the Riley Hopkins forced air flash dryer. So this is a flash dryer that actually pushes very, very hot air onto the garment. That's why it has this hood and it has fans pushing hot air through the heating element. We also have forced air conveyor dryers available for water-based printing. If you're just using an infrared flash dryer and or an infrared conveyor dryer, you're probably going to have to slow that belt down. Cure times or dwell times for water-based ink is typically 2 minutes plus. Remember, it just needs to reach that 320 degree point throughout the surface of the ink. So you can use a laser temp gun to temp that. We also recommend wash testing before you go into production mode, especially if you're new to water-based printing. Now let's talk about cleaning. To clean water-based ink, we recommend either like a fast clean opener or some ENVIROSOLVE, which is a water-based ink cleaner. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get all the ink out of the screen with our squeegee, and then get it all pushed through the mesh. Then we're going to pull it up with the edge of our squeegee here so it all comes out, and we're going to dispose of this. Now if we want to save that color or that color, we can put it back into the container and save it for future use. Because this is a mixed ink, we're just going to throw it away. I'm actually going to save some of that ink because it's still good ink. Then we'll just scoop the rest of the ink out with a knife. Here's a couple different ways to clean. We can use water-based screen opener, which foams up and kind of dissolves the ink. We use ENVIROSOLVE, which is an eco-friendly version. This is my preferred one because we're not using any aerosol. And then with some little bit of water to assist that, you can do this in the sink and or just on press. Really helps out. So we'll just take we're using a Ryo wipe right there and work all that in. As you can see, I think that ENVIROSOLVE does work better. The water-based screen opener is very convenient and does a very good job of blocking or cleaning blocked mesh as well. And there we have our clean and dry screen ready for another print. The Matsui Metallic Binder is a great ink to use for water-based printing and a little bit of cool special effects. Check out this on our website along with the Matsui Metallic Binder product detail sheet.